Well, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you've had a good morning of assignments. I think that we've got one here that's going to be very enjoyable. I certainly enjoy every piece of this assignment that I'm about to share with you. And that's because it involves something that I'm very passionate about. Now, you probably realize, many of you, that I am into photography, you know, from the pictures I take of volleyball games, basketball games, other stuff around school. What you may not realize is that when I'm not photographing at school, one of my favorite things to do is to go out at night and photograph the stars. In fact, I will be out at all times of the night, sometimes 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I'll be out there taking pictures of the Milky Way, of the moon, of various constellations, and I really enjoy it. And one of the reasons I like it so much is because when I'm out there all by myself and it's absolutely like silent, except for maybe the frogs, maybe the breeze rustling in the grass, maybe a coyote, and I look up at the sky, I look up at the heavens, and I realize that what I'm looking at has been there for like millions of years. It hasn't changed. You know, all around us, life changes, things change all the time, but the stars have been there since the beginning of the earth. And these are the same stars that your ancestors looked up at hundreds, thousands of years ago and started to write their stories from. And that is what like blows my mind, because I feel like when I'm out there in the middle of the night, I can almost imagine myself living 1,000 years ago and what it was like, and very different than today. This also, to me, really shows the wisdom of the Lakota people and of your ancestors, who looked up at the heavens and tied what they saw in the stars, they tied that to what they saw on Earth. So, for example, they saw places in the Black Hills, they saw stars that represented those same places. Now they could tie the stories of what happens here to what they see in the heavens. And this is really how, or at least one of the ways, Lakota kept their history. Your ancestors kept their history, because if you tie your stories on Earth to what you see in the stars, and if the stars never change, and if you keep repeating those stories to generation after generation, that's how your history becomes remembered. It becomes remembered forever, until people stop telling the stories, of course. So your history, the history of the Lakota people, is tied to what we see when we go out there at night. So that's what this assignment's going to be about. There are going to be 3 parts to this assignment, and I'm going to go over those 3 parts now. That's the purpose of this video. The first piece of the assignment, you're going to watch a video by Dr. Craig Howe. And in this video, Dr. Howe is talking about the Lakota stories, and he's talking about what went on in the heavens, specifically around the 1800s. There was this spectacular event that occurred in the heavens in the 1800s, and every winter count, no matter whose Teoshpaye, whose Tawahe was, this winter count was representing, every single winter count included this event. So I want you to watch the video, and I want you to find that event, because I'm going to ask you to name it a little bit later. I'm also going to ask you to pay attention to the students to whom Dr. Howe is presenting and what school they go to. I think you'll be surprised at that. The final thing, there's a word that he uses in the video. There's a Lakota word he uses that has 2 meanings, and I'm going to ask you a question about that word and what those 2 meanings are. Okay, after you watch the video, you're going to see lots of examples of winter counts, and you're going to see the types of illustrations that were used to keep track of the most significant event of the year. After the video, I want you to sit down with folks at your house, visit with your grandparents, make some phone calls if you need to, and I want you to create your own image, your own winter count image representing each of the last 3 years. All right, so to do this, you're going to need a pen, you're going to need a playing card, something about this size, an Uno card would work, and you're going to need a sheet of paper. All right? What I want you to do is I want you to take that playing card, and I want you to use the pen to trace the playing card 3 times on your sheet of paper to give you 3 separate frames. 1 frame for 2018, 1 frame for 2019, and 1 for 2020. Then, from this conversation you've had with your family, I want you to choose the most significant event for each of these years. Now, this again is where your ancestors were very wise to do this and record an event during the year it actually happened. Because I can't really remember much of what happened last week, much less what happened in 2018. It would take, quite a conversation with my own family to figure out what the most significant event for us was in 2018. When we get to 2020 though, I think 2020 is going to be like one of those years that Dr. Howe talks about where every winter count includes the same story. And it's just March. We're still early to 2020, but I'm pretty sure we all know what event might be represented in 2020. Okay, so that's the second piece of the assignment, the winter count. Finally, the third piece of the assignment, for the third piece, you're going to have to wait till a little bit later tonight, depending upon the weather. It's pretty crappy out right now. I'm hoping it clears. My weather app tells me that it's going to be partly cloudy tonight. So hopefully you'll have enough sky to see the stars from. If not tonight, tomorrow is supposed to be clear. Now, when you go outside, or perhaps before you go outside, you can do this now. I recommend that if you've got a phone, that you download yourself an app. And I have an Android phone, I have a Samsung, and the app that I downloaded is free. It's called Star Walk. And what's cool about Star Walk is when you take it out with you tonight, it will, you'll put your location in there, you'll put the time, and then depending upon which direction you're facing, Star Walk will show you which stars are in the sky and which constellations you're seeing. So it's really going to be cool. You'll be able to use this to determine which stars you're looking at. Now I want you to look for some specific stars though. And I want you to start with Hongwei, the moon. Just the other night I was out and I was taking some pictures of Hongwei, and Hongwei was in the western part of the sky. And she was pretty slim that night. Just a little bit of a sliver was showing through. Now that was about 4 nights ago. So she's been waxing since then. I mean, she's been getting larger. So tonight when you see her, she's going to be a little bit bigger than she was when I saw her. And I'm not exactly certain where she's going to be. I'm hoping she's still going to be in the western part of the sky. All right, so go out there, take a look for Hongwei, and when you see her, you're going to turn a little bit to the south, which will be to your left. And as soon as you turn to the left, you are going to see, if it's a clear night, you are going to see 3 stars in a row. I mean, there's not going to be any doubt because they are so bright. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, there they are. These 3 stars, the Europeans called Orion's Belt. But your ancestors, the Lakota ancestors, named these Tayamani Tchuhu. Tayamani Tchuhu. The bison's rib. All right, it's 3 stars clustered together that made the rib. And this is a pretty important constellation to the Lakota people. Not only does it represent the rib, does it represent the rib of the bison, but it's also the center of the racetrack galaxy, or the racetrack constellation, which again is one of those things that the Lakota people saw on Earth, and then they saw it represented in the heavens. And at the center of this racetrack are these 3 stars that make up the bison's rib, but also each of these stars represents a hill, a specific hill or place in the Black Hills. And surrounding this rib are some super bright stars that represent the racetrack that the 2-leggeds and the 4-leggeds ran to determine who was going to have dominion over the earth. So pretty important constellation. So I want you to take a look at that, and I want you to sketch it. Take a sheet of paper and just make a simple sketch of the stars, the 3 stars in the center, Tayamani Tchuhu, and then look for those brightest stars around the racetrack and do your best to document those and come up with a diagram of what the racetrack looks like. All right, and finally, this is going to be in the southwest that you see the racetrack. Finally, I want you to turn about 180 degrees to the east and look up, and once again, you are going to be like, oh my gosh, there it is, because you're going to be looking right into the 7 stars of the Oceti Shakowee. The 7 stars that your ancestors looked up in the heavens and said, look, those represent our campfires. Those represent our Ochetis. And these 7 stars are in a very specific pattern. Again, sketch what you see. I'm pretty sure most of you are going to be familiar with what this constellation is. And then when you come back to Google Classroom, I want you to drop in the comments the name of the constellation that you see when you're looking at the 7 stars of the Oceti Shakowee. All right, so let's go through this assignment one more time, all 3 pieces. First, watch the video with Dr. Craig Howe. Pay close attention to the students, which school they go to. the word that has two meanings, and most importantly, pay attention to what event it was that occurred in the 1800s that every winter count recorded. Second piece of the assignment, create your winter count page. All right, have a chat with your family, determine the three most significant events, one from 18, one from 2019, one from 2020. Document those, take a picture of it, upload it to Google Classroom. Third piece of the assignment, go outside. I mean, this is going to be awesome. Take your family out with you. Hopefully it's clear enough tonight. If not, wait till tomorrow. If you want, use your star app, find Hawaii, turn to the south a little bit, find the Tayamani Tulchuhu, the bison's rib, chart your what you see there with the racetrack, the brightest stars around it, and then turn to the east, find the 7 stars of the Oceti Shakoi, drop in the comments the name of that constellation. Have a good time. This is a great activity. Getting out at night, getting out under the stars, get away from some street lights. Don't take anything that makes noise. Just stare into the heavens and realize that you are looking at the same scene your ancestors looked at thousands of years ago. Nothing up there has changed. All right, have a good one. See you all tomorrow.